Cyclone Fytia rapidly intensifying near Madagascar. Latest on this significant cyclone that's affecting the coast of Madagascar this afternoon and evening. Cyclone Fytia, a Category 1 hurricane equivalent storm at 15.5 degrees south, 43.7 degrees east. Looking good on satellite imagery over the course of today. 85 mph winds estimated and a pressure of 973 millibars, but on its way to intensifying further before it reaches landfall. By the looks of things, we expect that it will probably arrive as a Category 2. This is the latest as of 6 p.m. Eastern African time this January 30th. Storm moving east at around 8 miles per hour or 12 kilometers per hour, and here it is displayed on the map with storm force winds extending out 140 nautical miles off to the northeast in the largest quadrant there out of the four. Warnings obviously in effect across Madagascar right now. It is 118 kilometers from Vilamatsa on the northwestern tip, 192 from Soalala further east, 286 from Maintirano in the south, 287 from Mahajanga, the main city in northern Madagascar, and 558 from the capital, Antananarivo. The storm is expected to push southeasterly through pretty much all of those locations, including the capital, and could pass directly over as a tropical storm once it's a little bit weaker inland. But right now, with the storm showing no signs of ending its intensification phase, we're expecting hurricane force winds very shortly for parts of Melaky and Boeni provinces in Madagascar, including the city of Mahajanga. Strong winds likely to penetrate far inland, including to the capital, Antananarivo, as we pretty much said just before. So strong storm force winds possible in all of those locations as the storm sweeps through and then exits towards the southeast later on in the weekend. Here it is now, looking at that forecast for the next few days, our latest estimates there, exiting south of Toamasina and then continuing southeastwards, passing relatively close to Réunion, although it looks like the storm force winds may just about avoid the island, but we're not too sure yet. And then the later part of the storm's track is a little bit unknown as well. There is two schools of thought in the modelling, one of which possibly staying around Réunion and stalling, and the other suggestion is that it will move further towards the southeast much more quickly. 85 miles per hour right now, supported by Meteo France, JTWC a little bit higher at 90 miles per hour, and ADT estimates from a little bit earlier already pushing the Category 2 threshold, so it wouldn't be surprising to see this storm strengthen another category. Landfall probably within 12 hours, so time is limited for this storm to strengthen, but who knows, it could strengthen a little bit more beyond that. There's the forecast from Meteo France, the storm moving generally southeastwards over that period of time and emerging as a low to moderate tropical storm according to them when it exits Madagascar and strengthening again. JTWC, on the other hand, has the storm strengthening further on that second peak, reaching a hurricane equivalent once again way to the south of the Mascarene Islands. The storm itself, for landfall, they're going with 105 miles per hour for that scenario there at landfall. There's the GFS model there, calling for the storm to remain fairly tight in terms of its wind field, and as you can see it gets very close to Réunion but doesn't actually deliver storm force winds, and the parent GFS model is calling for the storm to actually stall there off the coast into the middle of next week, but losing most, if not all of its strength and energy, and by that point it will probably devolve into a remnant low without really affecting Mauritius or Réunion with storm force winds. That of course could change, especially with how the storm will perform over land in Madagascar and also the track that it will take after that. It's going to be a bit of a rainmaker as well. Of course, it's already been delivering large amounts of rain over parts of northern Madagascar. We could be looking at storm totals of over 500 millimeters in parts of the northwest there. We're expecting an additional 400 millimeters for one or two areas near where the storm is making landfall. Most of the heaviest rainfall will be displaced towards the eastern and southeastern side of the storm's eye, or the center as it moves inland if the eye collapses, of course. And then later on in the storm's life, it's going to be fairly moderate amounts of rainfall for Réunion and a little bit less so for Mauritius. Here are the rainfall total estimates as we look through the next 7 days here, looking at that line of rain that starts to push through there in those reds, obviously underneath the central core of the storm, but you can see a few spots there in northwestern Madagascar. Still expecting another 300 or 400 millimeters of rain, which is up to 16 inches. And looking inland there, still significant amounts of rain there as well, so flooding issues quite possible towards Toamasina, maybe getting up towards 13 inches, which is just over 300 millimeters. That is inland though, not in the city. And in Antananarivo, possibly getting up to around 1 to 200 millimeters. Should point out for Réunion we're looking at maybe 100 millimeters, and for Mauritius maybe 50 millimeters from this storm. Rainfall sea surface temperatures, I should say, are looking pretty good right now, at least 28 degrees Celsius, and decently warm waters will continue once the storm leaves Madagascar in a couple of days, still hovering around the 27 degrees Celsius mark, and those numbers read a little bit low, so it may actually be higher than that. Latest satellite imagery showing the progression of the storm, looking very good on these visible images, and the infrared appearance is catching up, it has to be said, so we're really looking at this storm strengthening through at this point. Movement is pretty much due east as we've been looking at it over the last 6 hours or so, and it's relatively slow, around about 8 miles per hour or 12 kilometers per hour. We expect that the storm will turn a little bit further towards the southeast at any time, but probably just a little bit later after it passes the very northwestern tip there of the island, and then sinking inland and then starting to weaken. It does have a small wind field, which means it is more vulnerable to land interaction, we think, so it could lose quite a lot of intensity after it moves inland. The real question is just how strong will it be when it emerges off the coast, and will it have another shot at strengthening then? A few more views from the Force 13 website, which you can take a look at yourself at any time, force13.com/satellite, and you can take a look at satellite imagery of all the storms that are currently active around the world. This is the only mature storm that's currently active. There are several other areas of interest, however, many systems that could form in the southern hemisphere and one in the western Pacific in the next week. Looking at this water vapor infrared, some dry air lingering towards the south there, but it looks like it is getting gobbled up by the storm's moisture. Certainly the storm has intensified very quickly. It's gotten its core together very well in this last 12-hour period that we're looking at on this satellite imagery. The eye popped out very quickly indeed. Don't forget, this wasn't even a tropical cyclone at this point yesterday. It was nearly there, but it developed into tropical cyclone Fytia last night and has now become a much more substantial storm. It was possibly on the cards, but we weren't fully expecting it at this point, but it is looking very good indeed right now. So, movement still towards the east there with significant amounts of convection, mainly on that eastern and southern side in those latest frames, and the eye starting to pop out a little bit more there on that ZER imagery. If it consolidates a little bit better, we could be getting this storm running up towards category 3 status, it must be said, in here in the next 12 hours or so, the time that it's got before its landfall. Looking elsewhere around the world, we've got the remnants of 18P in the southern Coral Sea getting towards New Zealand. There's a real mess going on in the South Pacific, where we've got 3 areas of interest active right now. Fytia there, moving inland shortly over Madagascar, a 30% chance for next week over the rest of the Indian Ocean, a 20% chance we've given in the Western Pacific, and Invest 98P, which still could develop in the Gulf of Carpentaria, although at the moment it is inland.